Just a couple of guys, a couple of microphones, and a heck of a lot of know. It's Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.
What they say, it's not the X's and the O's, it's the Jimmies and the Joes.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Football on the Know. I'm Jim McPhee. I'm riding solo here tonight. I hope you guys will enjoy the show. Joe is down in Florida hanging out with some family and friends, and hopefully he's visiting Paul Matty down there. So shout out to Paul Matty. But I'm happy to be here with you guys tonight. Make sure you guys like and share the video. Make sure you, if you haven't yet, become a know-it-all. Go to our Facebook page and join our Facebook group, Football on the Know Show. And also you can catch us at YouTube and hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, let you know whenever we go live. All right, so yeah, it's championship weekend. Last weekend we had an exciting weekend of football, and you know, there was no surprises, but then also some surprises as well. Shout out to Paul Matty in the house with us tonight, instantly with us. There he is. So, yeah, Paul, what did you think about the Jags this weekend? Really kept it close with that game. That game I thought was going to be close. They really gave the Chiefs a run for their money. And if you look at the stat line, they're pretty much dead even as well. Both averaging 5.5, 5.8 yards per play. Rushing yards are even at 144 each. Passing yards roughly in the 200s together. And total yards 350 and 362. So you can't get any closer to that. 20 to 27. It was down to the wire. And just when it comes down to it, it's just about turnovers. The Chiefs won the turnover battle, and it was close. It came down to the very end, but congratulations to the Chiefs. They're going to move on. And the Jags, what a good game for the Jags, and what a good season for the Jags to turn it around from being one of the worst teams in the NFL last year to turning around and making a playoff run and winning the division. In a division that I thought was going to be between the Colts and the Titans, but you know what happens with that stuff. Doug Peterson, he says, Paul Matty says, equals coach of the year. He's a perfect fit for Lawrence. Yeah, absolutely. And that's a coach that can groom a quarterback. You've seen it. You've seen what he's been able to do. Now you see how Jalen Hurts has become who he's become. I got to say that's got to be part of what Doug Peterson had started there. And, you know, Philadelphia's riding high with what they're doing. I mean, you know, look what they're doing. They look unstoppable. Talk about a team and a force that's to be reckoned with. They dismantled my Giants. Giants didn't even have an opportunity in that game. They just didn't show it up at all. Just one team showed up to play, and it wasn't the New York Giants. But, you know, they had a good season, a surprise season too as well. Brian Daboll, NFC Coach of the Year. And, again, that was a big surprise. I wasn't expecting them to go very far, let alone make a playoff run. So the fact that they did make it to the playoffs, I think, was pretty exciting. But when you see what they did against a team that's really tough, you see what happened. They just weren't really there, didn't have the personnel, couldn't really do much. That defense versus that offensive line was just they're not even in the same conversation there. Paul Matty says, tell your boy to hit me up tonight. If he's in Titusville, we can go live, baby. Yeah, I don't know. He said he was busy tonight. I don't know what's going on. I hit him up, said I was going to go live tonight because last night we couldn't because the way the weather was. We're getting some crazy weather here in upstate New York, and the roads were pretty bad and stuff. So Cody didn't come over and stuff, our new producer and stuff. So we kept it low key, but tonight I'm going live solo. Again, just to talk a little bit about what's going on with everything and covering last week's games a little bit, but then talk a little bit about this weekend's matchups, but also some of the headlines that's going on too as well. Let's talk about the Bills quick too, and the Bills. What a disappointing game for them too as well. You think it's in their hands, you know, to play in Buffalo. You've got the weather. The Bengals were shorthanded at offensive line. And it seemed like it was there for the Bills to have. And they just didn't show up again. Another team showed up to play with a game plan, executed the game plan, and then the Bills did not. And when it comes down to looking at what's the key to win the game? What do they have to do to win the game? We talked about it. We talked about it last week. And the Bills needed to run the ball. And they didn't. They didn't do that at all, really. I think it was like 6 carries, I think, for Josh Allen with a touchdown, and then 5 apiece for the other 2 running backs, Singletary and Cooks. I mean, you can't get anywhere with that in a game that's got terrible weather, and obviously people were having issues, at least receivers for the Buffalo Bills, in catching the football because of the weather. You got to try and establish the run, and they just weren't able to do that. And the Bengals just controlled the football altogether, over 100 yards rushing for Joe Mixon, and 260 or so with 2 touchdowns for Joe Burrow. I mean, equal game altogether, and again, the Bills just never showed up on that one, and a disappointing loss for them. And now there's questions. People have questions about Josh Allen and his ability, and is he one of the upper echelons? I know they're talking about MVP right now of the season, and who will it go to and stuff. And now his name, I think, has now gotten kind of washed away to the side here. But Paul Matty says, how about Colts fans petitioning to keep Saturday from being the Colts head coach? LOL. I didn't see that, but I would not be surprised, because I don't get it either. I know he was their interim coach this past year after Frank Reich ended up getting fired. And what did he show? What did he show that he could be the head coach? He talked a big game. I mean, he was out there, saying the things sort of similar to what Dan Campbell would say, I guess, in a sense, bite your kneecaps, like, oh, we're going to come to play. And I think they had one good game. Other than that, really disappointing. And when you also have a game like that game against Minnesota, where you were dominating the team, and then you allowed them to come back and come back into the game and win. I mean, that shows you right there is like what's going to happen if you do get a big lead when you're in an important game, get to the playoffs, things like that. How are you guys going to respond? How are you going to coach? And when you have the biggest, I think, turnaround in NFL history, that doesn't say, let's make him a head coach to me. I mean, it could be a guy that's good for the locker room, and could be a good guy all around. But I don't think he did enough being there that says that he deserves the coaching job for the Indianapolis Colts. Mike Tackett, he's in the house with us tonight now too. He says fans petitioning by speaking with their money. If it affects their ticket sales enough, that'll play a favor for his tenure as their coach. Yeah, there you go. He agrees too. Paul Matty agrees. Yeah, that could be part of it too. That's what I mean. If you don't do it, if you don't buy them tickets, but fans are what they are, and that's why the NFL is one of the biggest companies out there, nonprofit, by the way. In revenue, is because they know people are going to be there. They're going to show up. There's diehard fans. What are they going to do? That team has gone from one of the biggest probably franchises in the NFL and NFL history. When you think about the old Baltimore Colts and Johnny Unitas, and then Peyton Manning era, and then now what has happened since I'd say Andrew Luck, retiring and not, becoming the man that he was going to be, the player that he was going to be. They've really had some issues. And if you look at Frank Reich's tenure with them, his best couple of years were there when they had Philip Rivers, who ended up being a turnover machine for them. And they haven't found the guy since. Mike Tackett says, let's effing go. Happy Thursday night, Jim. I went 4-0 last week. Finally, give me Cincy and Philly this weekend. Cincy and Philly, that looks like the matchup too. Who knows? Let's see. Cincy, they've got it working on all cylinders. Philadelphia, again, they're crushing it out there, and that week of rest to come back and just come out that explosive against the New York Giants with some momentum, dismantling. And then now they've got to be looking at this 49ers team and kind of be like, all right, we've got this, because again, this quarterback, yes, it's a great story right now. With Brock Purdy, what he's been able to do, and luckily he has the weapons that he has around him. But when is it going to run out? When is this time going to run out? When is his luck going to run out with this? Because when he faces off against a defense like they have, I mean, if you look at their corners or what they were doing last week too against the Giants, Bradbury and such, just locking it down. I mean, that's scary. That is scary to look at. Paul May says, why don't you have a New York accent? I don't know. I think I do a little bit. It depends on where you go. So, I mean, if I go somewhere, they notice it so much. If I just go over to Massachusetts, they notice my accent more than anything. But it's funny. It's all different regions. You know it. I think Joe has more of an Italian accent than anything, though, either too. But it's kind of funny. But yeah. I mean, it's a crazy thing here with what's going on here. And you talk about the coaches too, the coaching carousel, the things that have been happening in the Indianapolis Colts. What do you guys think about Frank Reich ended up being the new head coach for the Carolina Panthers too? I don't know about that situation too. Like, again, what does it say? What does it say on his resume that says he's able to coach a team like this with the Carolina Panthers? And what they had all kinds of miscues last year and stuff, going through multiple quarterbacks, PJ Walker or so. Sam Darnold, he's set to be a free agent this year or this coming season. So you're not guaranteed to have a Sam Darnold there. So what are you going to do? You're going to ride it out with Matt Corral. So what does that say? What does that say for Frank Reich? What kind of success has he had as a quarterback grooming coach? You can't give him credit for Carson Wentz, because what has Carson Wentz really done either since, Philadelphia, and he had 1.5 good seasons. And what did he do when he brought Carson Wentz back to the Colts and they were reunited? They barely scratched into the playoffs, but they really didn't do a whole lot. So, what are they looking for here? What is that? I don't think that's really a great mix here, or a great signing, I think, for the Carolina Panthers, especially after a Matt Rule type of coaching, which you just had. Paul May says, I've always thought former quarterbacks like Wright are good head coach candidates. Sometimes, not all quarterbacks are good head coaches. Who knows? It all depends. It all depends on what they do. Yes, you have to have the smarts, the ability to, know the plays and things like that, and have an offensive mind. But I think it's a mix of everything too. You can be the smartest guy and know a lot of different things, but if you can't translate it to the players and have them buy into that, then it's just not going to happen. You got to be able to have that locker room on top of it too. On the other hand, you've seen other coaches that have just been like kind of the locker room guy, and then the teams just don't buy in as much because they don't respect him as much. So we've seen things with like Adam Gase. Adam Gase is supposed to be a big, smart type of guy. He's not a former quarterback, but again, smarts, but then not really grabbing the locker room. So who knows? I mean, in that mind, with the way Ryan Fitzpatrick has been, super high IQ, been with multiple different teams, multiple offenses, seemed to be semi-successful, throughout his career with a bunch of different teams. Maybe he's a coaching candidate at one point, at least not even for a head coach, but for an offensive coordinator if he decides to get into that aspect. But you never know. But with Frank Reich, with the Carolina Panthers, though, I don't know what really. I think I would have kept searching for a little bit, see what's out there. Maybe again, so find one of those young coaches too that have an offensive mind. Let's see what they have to offer. Try something new. You did try it with the Matt Rule and the former college quarterbacks. I get it, or college head coaches. I get it, but I don't know. Try something else out. Maybe somebody that can groom your quarterback here, because there's a few different questions here with that Carolina team, and what are we going to see out of them? So Frank Reich, we'll see. I wish him the best with that whole situation, but that's the one major thing. What are they going to do going into this season? Just start it out with Matt Corral, or are they going to end up signing one of these veteran quarterbacks that might be out there You know, we were talking about Tom Brady doesn't know what he's doing. There's been talk about Aaron Rodgers and possible trades, things like that. So who knows? And, you know, what's funny thing, too, is when you talk about former quarterbacks, by the way, Paul Matty says Fitzpatrick is awesome. I think he's awesome. And, you know, I think he could be even better as an analyst right now. You know, when he's on the TV, he does all right. But I think he still doesn't let out enough of his personality, which I think he should do a little more of that. But if you look at Byron Leftwich just getting fired by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but I don't think that whole thing is going to – I don't think it was all really his fault on that whole aspect, too, with Tampa Bay, what happened with Tampa Bay. It is a question of how they did handle that game. Why weren't they trying to establish the run again in their playoff game against the Cowboys? But maybe it just was down to offensive line. Maybe offensive line couldn't handle as much. Again, they've been banged up there, couldn't get it done. But when you do go one-sided and Brady's just getting knocked down left and right, you do need to try and establish the run, try to get some balance in there, and they weren't able to. But Byron Leftwich has been a name that's been out there. So I think, again, and Paul Matty says Brady will be with the Raiders, and then he says Leftwich will land somewhere good. Maybe. I hope so, because Joe and I have been pounding on the table for Byron Leftwich to get a job for a long time. Probably since we've started this podcast, I think. But who knows? Again, I think he was the fall guy for this whole thing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady and all that nonsense. But I think he'll find a spot as well. And again, it's another one of those coaches of color, you know, to be able to be interviewed and find another job somewhere that he could be successful. It can't be another the Bears or something like that. Some team again that's going to be starting new or bottom of the basement type of deal. It's got to be with somebody that I think he can really grow with, and he's not really set up for failure. As far as Brady being a Raider, in your opinion, why is that again? I hear that a lot, about maybe Brady being the Raider, going with the Raiders. I'm not sure. Joe doesn't think so as much, but when you hear back with the rumors again, a lot of people were assuming that, Tom Brady was talking about the Raiders here when he said he was going to go a team, and that funny quote where he's like, oh, you're going to take that, blank blank instead of me, you're going to ride with him instead of me. So it might be, and are people drawing parallels between, him and the head coach here, McDaniels? But I don't know. Are the Raiders really built to win though? That's the thing right now. Because if you look at the issue here, it's got to be the defensive side of the ball. They've always had poor defense. And yes, you can get some of that pressure here with Max Crosby and that defensive line a little bit. But besides that, the corners in the secondary is just not very good. It's very leaky. So if that pass rush doesn't get there, they're getting lit up. And you saw it multiple times this year. In the past few years, that's been their problem. And for Tom Brady, being as old as he is, 46, he's going to be 46 at the beginning of the season. He wants to go with a winner. So there's a bunch of different people out there still looking for a quarterback that still can win. We have to see what goes on with the Baltimore Ravens. Now will Lamar Jackson leave and everything now? Well, we heard that there was issues between him and Roman. So maybe now that that's cleared up, maybe he'll stay. But who knows? People have talked about maybe the Jets being a perfect landing spot. But, he's openly said that he hated the Jets. But maybe that was just because, he had to play against them all the time. They're a rival team with the Patriots. They're rivals of the Patriots. So why wouldn't he just say, I hate the Jets? So I don't know. It's open there. Paul Matty says 2 years ago, Leftwich was a hot name for a head coach somewhere. Yeah, he was. And Eric Bieniemy still getting interviewed too as well. But still, it's funny with me. Why isn't Bieniemy getting hired at all either, too, after he gets all these interviews? Does he not interview well, or what's the issue with that? And then he says Brady will go somewhere where he can call the plays. Yeah, probably. Again, he likes to have control, and you saw it over there with Tampa Bay. Once he got there, he really did take control with like personnel. You know, Gronk came back. He wanted some other people. Hire this guy. Hire this. I want power over this. And again, if you look at the Jets, I don't know. I could see maybe even the ownership saying, "Yeah, we're down with that. You know, we'll give you that type of power here if you come here." You said Woody Johnson has openly said that they will go out and they'll pay for a veteran quarterback. You know, they'll do it. But will it be Tom Brady? I don't know. I mean, we've heard things about other, veterans out there. And one other headline I want to bring up is the fact that now the Jets hired former Broncos head coach Nathaniel Hackett as their offensive coordinator. That's an interesting thing to me now as well. Paul Matty says podcast graphics and ticker at the bottom of the screen looks great. Yeah, no problem. Thank you so much. I try to do my best here. I'm producer and host and everything else tonight. So it's a bit quiet without Joe over here, but we're getting it done. I still got my Raise energy here, by the way. Go to repsports.com, hit the promo code, type in Raise them up, and you can get your 15% off of Raise Energy. But yeah, absolutely. Here we go. Nathaniel Hackett. Again, what has he done even as offensive coordinator? He was former offensive coordinator for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And then now the Green Bay Packers, that ended up landing him the job for the head coach for the Broncos. And again, I think that was just a ploy, and everybody kind of knew it, I think, to get Aaron Rodgers to come to the Broncos. Well, that wasn't even enough to sway Aaron Rodgers to the Broncos there, too, even with the weapons that they had. They go out and get Russell Wilson, and they still are not able to get it done. You know, they were ranked 32nd in the NFL in offense. Now, what does that, in that whole thing, tell you that he can be a great offensive coordinator with the personnel you have for the Jets? I don't think it does. You know, and after you're firing who was it? I can't remember. Their offense coordinator just had what the hell is his name? I can't remember right now off the top of my head. But moving on to him though, I mean, I don't see anything changing here, and I see maybe the only thing that they're thinking in this whole situation again is that we're falling into the ploy of the Jets trying to persuade a trade with the Green Bay Packers to get Aaron Rodgers here. That's the only thing I'd see in this move, because I don't think Nathaniel Hackett is the answer for them. I don't think he's the answer for them getting their offense going. What has he shown, again, in the past season to where he, failed with a Russell Wilson as your quarterback, and the other superstars that you have on their offense weren't able to get it done. So what's he going to do for Zach Wilson, for Mike White out there? I see them trying to get Aaron Rodgers and say, hey, Nathaniel Hackett's here. You know him. Look at all these other weapons we have around. Now, could you imagine an Aaron Rodgers with the New York media and the New York Jets? If you look at the two rosters between the Packers and the Jets, I would take the Jets roster over the Packers roster at this point. If you look at, especially offensively, if you see Aaron Rodgers throwing to, a Garrett Wilson, you've got Breece Hall, healthy Breece Hall in the backfield, even Michael Carter too, with a two running back tandem. I think that is a better situation for him and their weapons than what they have in Green Bay. And then that defense, and what Robert Saleh has been able to do with that defense this past season, a defense that can hold teams off, and with that offense and Aaron Rodgers that can score points in that division, to where the Buffalo Bills now, if you look at them, do they have enough to get there again? Why couldn't Aaron Rodgers go there and compete with Josh Allen in the cold weather and try and dethrone them and get further and make a playoff run? So I think that's an interesting situation we can look at in the offseason, because the hiring of Nathaniel Hackett and the Jets as the offensive coordinator, besides any other point than to get Aaron Rodgers, makes no sense to me. But let me know in the comments what you guys think. Absolutely. It's been great talking to you guys out there. Paul Matty in the house. Mike Tackett too as well. But yeah, I mean, Nathaniel Hackett, I don't think that's the great situation here for the New York Jets. I don't know what you guys think, Jets fans out there too as well. Are you guys happy about that? Let us know in the comments below. But yeah, this last weekend, it was a lot of crazy games here, a couple blowouts, and the Dallas Cowboys, they don't make it again. Again, they made it into the next round, but now they are bumped just like that in a tough game against the 49ers, which the 49ers had to keep it interesting in the end too. If Elijah Mitchell just runs towards the middle of the field and not out of bounds to stop the clock, that would have been a locked up deal there. But again, guys in that moment, they don't think so much and so clearly, and goes out of bounds, makes it close, but Cowboys go home early, and they're not able to do it again. Obi-Wan in the house with us tonight. He says Jets should go for Rodgers but fall back on Carr. There you go. Absolutely. I think that's a good situation there too. Because again, if you look at the personnel that's there with the Jets, you put I said it with the Packers. If you put the roster of the Jets next to the Packers, I'll take the Jets roster any day with an Aaron Rodgers or a Derek Carr. If you put them next to the Raiders roster, I will go with the Jets roster at this point too, because what do you really have there? You have Devontae Adams now, still with the Raiders, and but you didn't really get any of the other guys really healthy at all times on the field. And even if they do, who's going to be their quarterback now moving forward? Is it going to be Jarrett Stidham now moving forward for the Raiders? I mean, what are we getting out of that? And that defense has been leaky again. It's good to see Max Crosby make a push again, come back to that type of guy that he was a couple previous years ago. But again, if that pass rush doesn't get there, secondary can't hold people off. And there you go. How many games did you see the Raiders get ahead and then lose in the end of the game? They let the teams come back just because, again, secondary not able to hold it down. Obi-Wan says Raiders have Adams, but bad O-line and no D. Exactly. So it's kind of a blessing for these two quarterbacks to get out of those situations. I know Derek Carr, he bleeds silver and black and stuff, and he wanted to just play with one team and things, but it's time to move on. I think they're doing him a favor, and what he's been able to do, I think people overlook, because I don't know if it's just a Raider thing. People like to hate on him, what it is, but look at a couple of different quarterbacks and how would they react when they have multiple head coach changes, multiple offenses they need to learn. I mean, look at Marcus Mariota. I mean, he's had multiple coaches, multiple playbooks that he had to learn, multiple teams now. And we've seen some success, but nothing crazy, you know what I mean? And he was drafted high, second overall, and he's been, a letdown. So for a Derek Carr to do that and even take the scrutiny that he does and the things in the media that he's had to go through too, with some of the antics of his former teammates too as well. So I think if you put him in the Jets or a New York media type of area, I think he knows how to handle the media. He'll be straight up honest with you and stuff, but I think he can handle the New York media and what anything they have to do with him moving forward with the Jets. So that would be a good spot too as well. Obi-Wan, I agree with you there. Paul Matty says Purdy has peaked, and yeah, I mean it could be. He says he's calling the Bengals and Eagles Super Bowl, and I think that's what Mike Tackett just said. So everybody's jumping on that wagon right now. The Bengals and the Eagles. Eagles early on, when I think Gaz from Godzilla Media had asked me, we don't do Super Bowl picks, blah blah blah, and I said maybe again look at personnel. You look at the depth charts. Who is it? For me, it would have been the Bills and the Eagles. But Bills, again, didn't show up last week, so that pick is out. But the Eagles, again, they've been the most dominant team throughout the season, and nothing has really swayed otherwise, looking at them, again, moving forward. And the fact that, like Paul Matty says, you think that Purdy has peaked. Yeah, it could be. And there's a lot of question marks going on with the 49ers maybe moving forward too, as far as their quarterback room. Again, a lot of people think, again, that you might as well, if Purdy's been doing this well, even if they don't win the Super Bowl this year, do they ride it out with him? Move on from Trey Lance. Jimmy G is out. Where is he going to go? Is he going to find a landing spot? Some people even think Jimmy G, just like many coaches or many players, go back home. Look at Bill O'Brien now, offensive coordinator for the Patriots, going back home with the Patriots. Do you see Jimmy G going back there in case, again, Mac Jones has issues? We saw a little bit this past season where he was questionable at times with some of the things he had done with turnovers. But, do we see Jimmy G go back there? Possibly. Who knows? But Brock Purdy, again, it's a good story. We'll see what happens. Again, you've seen stranger things happen where they can take it all the way, and we've seen this story already with Tom Brady. So we'll see what happens when you've got a good D-line and a good defense all together with the 49ers, and then the weapons that they have around them. I mean, it's hard to fail. You really just got to keep it clean. Do not make mistakes, and let everybody else do the work for you. It's there. It's laid out for you. But when you face an Eagles team coming up here that's hungry, and again, the weapons that they have on top of it, plus the defense, plus the quarterback, that's going to be tough. That's going to be a tough matchup here. For me, when I get to my picks and things, I'm not going to really do my picks tonight just because I'm going to fall off of what Joe has done, just because I'm down in the picks competition. Joe is up by 2. I went all in on my Giants, and they let me down, so I'm 2 behind. But as far as that 49ers and Philadelphia Eagles game, it's going to be close. It's going to be tight. It's going down to the wire, and it could be the Eagles. We'll see, but we'll see. It's going to be a great matchup. I can't wait to see it. All of them have been pretty good except for the Giants game. I had to start drinking early during that game. We were live at 605, Restaurant 605 in Albany. It was a good time there. I always love hanging out with those guys down there, and they're big Giants fans. And, for that game, it is what it is. I wish they showed up and kept it a little close, kept it interesting like they had in the previous weeks, but they weren't supposed to be there, and Brian Daboll, you got to give it to him for what they've been able to do this season, and hopefully it's a stepping stone and moving forward for their team. But as long as the Eagles are there and they have this personnel together too, that's going to be a tough division to get out of and do things with. Now the question mark for that, the NFC East, though, when you look at it, what are the Cowboys going to do? I think Mike Tackett had brought it up too with some of the money situations with some of these other franchises. They have some questions to answer. They have some things to do. Now we've seen after they lost, look how many people turn on the Cowboys. This is the thing with the Cowboys, and I think the media really toys with people about this. They'll build them up. They'll build up the Cowboys right in the beginning of the preseason. They'll tell you that they are the favorites to win. And they feed the fire, and they know that the Cowboys fans are going to jump all over it too. They're like, yeah, we are. We're ready. We're rebuilding. We got this other guy. This free agent. We grab this. We're ready. We're going to do it. But they're just doing it, set you up. So then when you fail, they can be there to burn the bridge down, just to burn it down. And that's what they're doing right now. You're seeing it with Dak Prescott. Just last week, telling you how great Dak Prescott is and what he's been doing, how he's playing well, and blah. Just a week before that, multiple weeks in a row, he was throwing multiple picks, big issues, turnovers, nonstop, not looking good, much like you just saw last week, and lost him the game. But they had one good week, and they're talking him up, and how great he is. It's no good, and that's what they do. They set you up, they set them up, they build up the Cowboys just so they can burn it down right afterwards and leave you like that. And that's what they do. And they get the Cowboys fans all into it, and it gets pretty crazy. But Paul Matty says, I have a bottle of Jameson for Joe and I to finish tonight. Party at a friend's house tonight. I will treat him right. There you go. I don't know. I got to send go into the group chat. And again, go into the Football on the Know group chat and send Joe that message. See if he can come out and play. Joe is in Florida, by the way, everybody. He is in the Tampa /Titusville area. down there in Florida. He has family and stuff he's visiting. Must be nice down there. What's the weather down there right now, Paul Matty? It's got to be amazing. Obviously, you're in Florida. Here, we just got like 6 inches of snow. Not too cold though, but we did have a big winter storm the past 2 days. So that's why it's been kind of crazy here. I'm riding solo. Cody is home, chilling. But I am here. 60s isn't bad. Now, you're not originally from Florida, are you, Paul? Let me know if you're originally from Florida, because the thing is about 60s in Florida, it's still good and they like it. But if it gets below 60, Floridians start to get a shiver, in themselves. And they're like, man, it's cold out here tonight, those cold nights. But, us up here in the Northeast, we're kind of like, yeah, we're out there in like, T-shirts and stuff. It doesn't really bother us so much. So it's kind of funny when you talk weather with people down there in Florida, especially the nights, and you sit by the fire. She goes, Florida native, baby. There you go. Shout out to that. Awesome. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, sometimes below 60s, it gets chilly a little bit for them. And it's funny that some people just can't handle it. They start putting a sweater on or something. But Obi-Wan said it's rare for the wild cards to win the Super Bowl. I never got the hype. Yeah. So, I mean, who is it? Is it the 49ers? They're not wild cards though, right? Did they took the division, right? So yeah, it's tough. I mean, I think one of the last wild cards I think that did it might have been the Giants, because I don't think they'd won a division that year. I mean, they were 9-7, I think, but I don't know if they really won the division that year. They might have. But it is tough. It's tough to do because when you're a wild card team and you have to face some of these other teams that were, juggernauts of offenses, it's tough to overcome that. And when you talk about, I heard somebody talking about, I think it was like when you talk about Phillip Rivers' legacy and you talk about what's going on with the quarterbacks that are out now with Josh Allen, and people are trying to now put parallels with Josh Allen and Phillip Rivers right now. Let me get to my point in just a second. Paul Matty says, I played college football at Quincy University in Illinois and got 4 years and played in the snow. There you go. Yeah, playing in snow. So that'd be different for a Florida boy out there, huh? That'd toughen it up really good. But yeah, I heard that their parallels they're trying to do with Phillip Rivers and Josh Allen, and saying that he is good but not good enough. He's that turnover-prone type of guy that just can make it there but not all the way and finish the deal and win the whole thing. Meanwhile, you've got your Patrick Mahomes. And I think they even brought up Justin Herbert in this whole thing. But what has Justin Herbert really done? I mean, and he plays for the Chargers, so he could be Phillip Rivers at this point because always a bridesmaid, never a bride. You got to think about with the Chargers and what they've been doing. Yeah, right there you go. See, Obi-Wan just agreed right there. He says, if anything, Herbert's the new Rivers, right? Absolutely, because again, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Like it's a big talk. And this team's supposed to be the next up-and-coming team, too, as well. And nothing but letdowns, too, as well. But Phillip Rivers, I think, was a victim, though, of, again, having Tom Brady and Peyton Manning at that same time in that era right now as other competitors in that AFC. It's tough when you got those two teams. When you had to get into the playoffs every year, but then you knew you had to play the Tom Brady and the Patriots and Bill Belichick, and if it wasn't them, that you had to play Peyton Manning and the Colts. What it was, I mean, that is a tough set to go through, and that is a tough matchup, and that's why those. If you look at those AFC Championship games, a lot of times, I think I just saw a graphic too today about a lot of the same teams in the playoffs or even in the championship games in the last previous years or so, the last 10 years. And that's because the level that they had in the AFC and in that conference. But I don't know, again, just same thing with Josh Allen too, just because of the bad game in the snow. They're ready to take him down just as much too, also, just like what they do with, Derek Carr and stuff. Meanwhile, previous in the season, they were just talking him up and saying how great he is and things. But that's why Joe and I, when you watch our show, and we appreciate all you know-it-alls, by the way, out there, Obi-Wan too, especially out there too. We have our opinions, and we talk about things all the time, but we're not one of those hot take type of people and stuff, because you're going to get some good, you're going to get some bad. We're not, I have an opinion too, and it could be right, it could be wrong, but, we're not those guys that are just going to tell you like, oh, this is the most definite thing here, this is that, and I'm telling you that, because you have variables. Patrick Mahomes, yeah, he's good. He has a lot of flaws though too. He has the ability to make a lot of good plays on his feet, and off his feet. See what after the issues that he had this past weekend, he's got that knee banged up pretty early, and that was pretty scary. That was tough there for them. You were thinking he had the high ankle sprain. If he was going to be able to come back into that game, I mean, that could have been a decider right there, deciding factor for the Chiefs. Luckily, they got Pacheco, because he was able to pull off that big run here that almost ended up being a dead play, because he got to the middle of that bunch here on the handoff, and then he was able to bounce out to the outside and pull off some big chunk yardage and get the touchdown eventually on that drive. But if he doesn't, you got Chad Henne in there, and you can see the difference between him and a Patrick Mahomes. But even Patrick Mahomes makes mistakes. You're not just the greatest of all time instantly. You're not this and that, whatever people want to label you. There's variables. There's year after year, and you see what happened when you have like a Tom Brady, who's one of the greatest of all time, not have a good offensive line this season, and look what we were able to witness. Not on the same page with the receivers, not enough time to throw the ball, getting sacked multiple times, frustrated, and now he's ready to leave and go to a different team. And that goes to show you, it depends on even what team drafts you and how your career goes and what your legacy might be eventually. All right, so talking about the next games this weekend here. We talked a little bit about the Philadelphia game and the 49ers here. Let's talk about Cincinnati and the Bengals here real quick though too. How bad is that injury? The high ankle sprain. It could be a couple different things, but I'm sure he's going to tape it up. He's going to go, but could hinder the Kansas City Chiefs offense here? The Bengals here on defense looked really good too. They were locking it tight too on the offensive weapons here. The Bills getting guys frustrated, but really the Bills when it came down to it on offense, just a lot of drop balls. And again, you're trying to throw in the snow, ball slippery. You had to try and establish the run. You didn't, and the Bengals did. But what is Kansas City going to do on defense against this Bengals team? That's why a lot of people are picking the Bengals in this one, because that Chiefs defense is not the same. They did lose a step. I mean, you don't have, Honey Badger in the back. The secondary is still suspect. If that pass rush doesn't get there, you're going to get scored on. And the weapons that the Bengals do have by air are decent, but then also they can kill you in the run. Joe Mixon is having, I wouldn't say MVP here, but he's balling out there. Joe Mixon is balling and making a big push for why he's one of the better running backs in the NFL right now. And he's been out there for a while, but he usually just has the injury bug. So a good, healthy Joe Mixon shows you what he could do here. So, and this is what the Bengals have been able to do. They've been able to stay balanced. So it's not all on Joe Burrow, what he's got to do. They have the banged up offensive line, but hey, we're not going to have to throw. We can still establish the run. And that's one thing that Kansas City Chiefs have to try and deal with here. They're still going to get theirs on offense and stuff, but what is that defense going to do? How are they going to perform against the Bengals? How are they going to hold off that offense? Because if the Bengals get the ball first, especially, and then start scoring right away, Kansas City needs to be able to score right back with them. And they do have weapons. They do have weapons on the offensive side of the ball. But, again, is their defense going to be able to hold off the Bengals so that if the Chiefs happen to punt a few times, are they going to be able to keep in this game? And how healthy is Patrick Mahomes on this whole thing? So that's a big question moving forward here with this game moving forward in the Chiefs and the Bengals, but we shall see this weekend. It's going to be super exciting. I can't wait to check out the games. It's going to be a lot of fun. Super Bowl weekend or Super Bowl coming up. Any parties going on out there? What are you guys going to do? We might try and hit up a live spot. Not sure what's going on with that, but we're excited. We can't wait. We appreciate you guys watching with us here and supporting us this season, our 5th season now doing all this. We appreciate it, and we've been able to grow because of your guys' support out there too, and the support of our sponsors, Raise Energy out there, Colorize, Paul Perry Kitchens, Mohawk Honda especially out there too as well. Thanks to all the sponsors out there that have been with us this season. So I'm going to end it here with us tonight. I hope you guys appreciate the video here, and make sure you like and share and become a know-it-all out there. Subscribe to our YouTube page, Football on the Know Show. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, which you know whenever we go live. And next time, you'll see us all here together in the same spot here. Joe, Cody will be here, and we'll be talking about how awesome these games were this past weekend. But thanks so much for joining me tonight, and I'll see you guys next time.
Join us next week from 8 till 10 Wednesday night for more Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.